This right here is more or less every single stock or ETF I own across multiple portfolios, which altogether are worth over 7 figures, and as of current earn me around $6,100 in dividends on a monthly basis. Now in this video, I want to break down every single stock and ETF that I currently own throughout this portfolio and share with you some of my favorite and least favorite positions. Then later on towards the end of the video, I want to explain to you all my longer term plan when it comes to this portfolio and what I hope to be doing with it sometime in the future. Now, if you're interested in seeing the inner workings of my 7-figure portfolio that I've been building for almost 7 years now, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. I just finished my brand new dividend investing ebook where I share exactly how I went from zero to now over 7 figures invested, and also on how I earn more than $6,000 per month in dividends. I also finished my custom dividend tracker that you can use to track your dividend income progress on an ongoing basis. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So first off, a little bit of backstory on me. I'm currently a 31-year-old dividend growth investor, and like I mentioned, I started this portfolio around 7 or so years ago. Now, I started this portfolio just like a lot of you with a few shares of different stocks, different companies on the Robinhood brokerage. And because of a business liquidity event, along with just consistently adding every dollar ongoingly into these portfolios, I've been able to build quite a portfolio at the age of 31, at least if you ask me. Now, to break down all the positions in the portfolio as of right now, and like I said, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite and least favorite positions, why I bought them, etc., etc. But position number 1, I have 1,748 shares of ticker symbol BDJ. This is the BlackRock Enhanced Equity Dividend Trust. This is a closed-end fund that I bought a ton of years back. I haven't really added many shares of BDJ as of recently, but although I'm down in it a little bit as far as price goes, I've earned a ton of dividends along the way and is definitely sort of a staple of the portfolio at this point. Next, I own around 1,421 shares of Devo, which is the Amplify Enhanced Dividend Income ETF. Devo is one of my favorite low beta covered call ETFs. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. And Devo is definitely one of the ETFs I've been adding more of throughout 2024 and will continue to do so. Next, I have 1,262 shares of Verizon stock, which is one of my least favorite positions in this portfolio. I am down on Verizon as far as share price, of course, because I bought Verizon at average cost of around $53 per share years ago. But because I've been able to sell and cover calls on Verizon and earn a pretty juicy dividend on a quarterly basis, that's definitely made up for some of Verizon's lack of performance. Next up, I do have 1,000 shares of Apple stock. My Apple position was one of my main positions early on in this portfolio, and Apple as of right now is definitely the largest position across my entire portfolio, worth around $190,000. Next, I have 2,700 shares of QYLD, another ETF that I've been holding on for years now. QYLD was of course bought for a yield play, and although I haven't added any more shares of QYLD as of recent, I'll definitely continue to hold QYLD for a while still. Next, we have my favorite single stock across the entire market, Realty Income, ticker symbol O. We have around 2,826 shares of ticker symbol O as of right now across all the portfolios. My longer term goal for Realty Income is to get to 2,900 shares, which we'll probably be able to do so throughout this year. Then we have 1,248 shares of JEPI, the JP Morgan, the Equity Premium Income ETF. These shares of JEPI were also purchased a while back, and although I haven't added any more shares of JEPI, I have been adding a ton of JEPQ, but these JEPI shares are probably going to be in the portfolio for a while still. Next, another one of my favorite single stocks. This is EPD, or Enterprise Products Partners, LP, 740 shares roughly of EPD. We then have BST, another BlackRock fund, 700 shares of BST. We then have one of my least favorite positions. This might be my worst performing position across the entire portfolio. Ticker symbol MPW, or Medical Property Trust, around 600 shares, unfortunately, of medical property. But of course, when it comes to investing, you can't win them all. MPW has definitely been a big loser for this portfolio. Next, we have ticker symbol JEPQ, or JEPQ, one of my favorite covered call ETFs across the entire market, if not around 503 shares of JEPQ as of right now, and I will definitely be adding more JEPQ throughout this year. Next, we have 300 shares of another medical REIT, OHI. This one has not performed as bad as MPW, luckily. Omega Healthcare, 300 shares. I've been holding this for a while. No real plans here from this one. Next, we have 246 shares of NUSI, another covered call ETF. We have XYLD, of course, 194 shares of that. We then have my favorite dividend growth ETF, as of right now at least, 531 shares of ticker symbol SEHD, or the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. SEHD is a position I'm aggressively trying to add to throughout this year, hopefully going to hit 1,000 shares by 2025. We then have 311 shares of Altria Group. Of course, bought Altria for a little bit higher yield, some more income for the portfolio, but honestly not planning on going too crazy when it comes to ticker symbol MO. We then have one of my other favorite REITs, National Retail, 261 shares of that one. We then have some JP Morgan, 100 shares of JP Morgan. We have almost 300 shares of Vici, another pretty high quality REIT that I grabbed a ton of last year. We then have Kinder Morgan, ticker symbol KMI, 59 shares of that. Main Street Capital, which I also added a few shares of as of recently, one of my favorite monthly paying dividend stocks. I think across all the portfolios around 250 of Main Street as of right now. As of right now, I think I probably have to update this, but Main is definitely one to look into. Then we have another position that I sort of dodged a bullet with because I was going to buy a ton more of Walgreens. Walgreens did just recently also cut their dividend. 89 shares of Walgreens. Like I said, luckily I don't have any more of it. Then we have WP Carey, 351 shares of that. PNW or Pinnacle West, 47 shares. Then we have TSLY, the Yield Max Tesla Option Income Strategy ETF, around 250 shares of TSLY, which of course I'm down on. Pretty much like everyone else that owns TSLY. Then 24 shares of UPS. We got 20 shares of PBA. We have around 18 shares of Arbor Realty Trust. We have a few shares of Extra Space Storage, 16 shares of that. We have 17 shares of Simon Property Group. We have 12 shares of SVOL, which I think I actually have more shares of that one. We have 9 shares of Stag. We have 8 shares of T Rowe, about 19 shares of Kimberly Clark. We have 3192 of V&Q. We have 200 Coca-Cola and 700 PSA. So there's the portfolio as it sits as of current. Like I said, I haven't added every single new buy into this master dividend tracker as of current. And also side note, you can of course grab the same exact tracker to use for your own dividend journey. It's the first link in my description. But as the portfolio sits roughly, just an estimation of course, this portfolio is generating around $6,100 on a monthly basis or around $70,000 and so dollars on a year. Now my longer term plan for this portfolio, I sort of hinted at as of recently, I do want to build out some really solid pillars for the portfolio over the next few years. Now these pillars are going to be things like SCHD, which again I currently have just over 500 shares of. This portfolio in my opinion needs a lot more of things like SCHD, DGRO, DGRW, or even VOO. And I intend to build out all those as far as positions over the next say 1 to 3 years. Now the other thing you guys might be curious about is why am I going a little bit higher yield as far as the portfolio goes, especially if I'm a 31-year-old investor. Now this is because even though I don't plan on retiring and using these dividends to pay for my bills or anything today or tomorrow, I do plan on using these dividends to pay for things like bills, vacations, or even to help out friends and family with some of the money later on, maybe in the next 3 to 5 years. So because I do want to have access to some dividend income and take some dividend income out of the portfolio, most likely at least, over say the next 3 to 5 years, I do want to build out positions in the portfolio that generate a significant amount of income on a monthly, quarterly basis. Now for the investors out there that don't want to necessarily have any access to the money and don't want to use any of the dividends for maybe say 20 or 30 years from now, well then a lot of these positions would probably not be the best bet for your portfolio. Things like QYLD, BDJ, or even JEPI. But for the dividend investors out there that do want to have some access to cash and want to have some cash flow coming in, well then some of the high yielders definitely might be a little bit more appealing. All that to say that my strategy is constantly evolving, and that's sort of the fun thing about investing and getting older is that you might think that at one point your strategy is moving you towards one direction, and then maybe for whatever reason you might change your mind and move the other way. But as of right now, this is where the portfolio sits, and make sure to subscribe if you want to follow along with my journey because I'm going to be sharing everything throughout this channel. But lastly, I have a question for you guys. Out of this entire portfolio as it sits as of currently, if you were to pick your number one favorite buy and hold stock or ETF throughout this entire portfolio, which one would it be? Drop the ticker symbol in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.